Welcome into the Point After with Mitch Kaiser. I am your host, Mitch Kaiser. Today, I'm joined by TJ Wengert here, lead college football and draft analyst at 32BeatWriters. Appreciate you coming on, TJ. How's it going, man?
It's great, man. We followed each other for a few years now, man, and I've known of you for a few years now, too, so I'm glad that we're getting to connect. I'm pumped up that you're getting this podcast.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on, TJ. We're going to kind of talk a little draft. We had the decision deadline for early draft enrollees to come out. There were some surprising names that came back, so we'll get into some of those guys. I wanted to talk about a couple NFL draft decisions. We both are huge NFL draft nerds. I know you cover the draft for 32BeatWriters. And I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple guys who are staying in school before I bring up a couple names who are declaring. Couple quarterbacks who I thought maybe should have came out in this class who decided to come back. Dante Moore, Darian Mensah, and Jaden Maiava, which I know Mensah and Maiava, they returned a couple weeks ago. Like that was kind of old news, but those are two guys I thought that could have been in this class and could be future NFL QBs. So thoughts on maybe those guys? Obviously, Dante Moore is the biggest name to return. We'll focus on him mainly, but what do you think?
Yeah, well, I'll start with Dante just because, he was the big one. And, dude, the way he went on SportsCenter and he's giving all glory to God, I was like, oh, man, this guy is about to declare. I can't believe
that.
The LeBron
really decision 2.0.
After that. Yeah, I know, right? Like, considering how the last game went, it just a lot of bumps in that game, and he looked like a 20-year-old. Like, I don't think that game was all his fault. And in a lot of ways, I kind of agree with James Foster and Corey Kinnan. We were talking on their pod. He looked worse against Texas Tech than I would argue he did against Indiana. But like that's kind of the indictment. Those two tough games, right at the recency bias, those are right there at the end of his resume.
And
it's kind of a tough pill to swallow. But all that said, he goes on SportsCenter and you're like, oh shit, he's going to declare. Yeah. Sorry, what'd you say?
No, I was going to say against elite defenses like Texas Tech and Indiana. I was like, I wanted to give the kid a little bit of the benefit of the doubt on those. Like, these are tough defenses to face.
And then the Raiola component. Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. And then the Raiola component, right? Like, we knew that, and I was like, okay, well, he did fracture his fibula, so maybe he's just going to, sit for a year, but he's probably going there because he wants to start. But, yeah, so I'm fascinated. I think it's best for his long-term development because the NFL is not a developmental league.
No.
And, his response to pressure, he looks like a 20-year-old. He just needs more reps, and he just needs to see it more in live action. So I think honestly, it's probably good for Raiola, and especially considering, and I don't know the kid, but the way I've seen him carry him, and I've heard other people kind of talk about his personality, and there might be a little bit of a Spencer Rattler type of ego around that. Going to Oregon and sitting for a year might be the best narrative he could do to dispel all that. I'm willing to sit back for a year and go learn and be a part of this. The other thing that kind of surprised me about the Dante Moore decision was signed to Kentucky.
He's doing what Moore did behind Gabriel. So a very mature decision. Yeah.
And earlier I'm saying that's one of the things I liked about him. He might have been my quarterback one if he came out. I like that maturity. So that's why I'm not out on Simpson being a first-round pick. There's a lot of maturity in what he's made with his decisions. And then Mensah, dude, I don't know if you heard. I was listening to the PFF CFB
a couple hours ago.
Dude, Mensah's
he's back in the portal.
Today might throw his name into the portal. Today's the last day to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard Miami is trying to throw a bag of money at him.
Miami. Yeah, which I think it's going to happen. One, to steal him from an ACC school, diabolical. That's you want to talk about Darth Vader striking back? Boom, right there.
Yeah, there's back.
That's the perfect. And he's
finished what he started. Yeah.
Kylo Ren, yes.
Yeah.
But he's going to get probably $6.5 million to go get some more reps. And I think especially with the quarterback landscape we know right now and no more, Maiava and Mensah could have made a run for the first round, and if not, they probably go in the second round. But I still think both of them are a year away. I still think Mensah could be a little bit quicker to making his decisions. I still think the ball placement could be a little bit more consistent. And Maiava's still got to cut down on some of the turnover-worthy plays for me. There are some throws where you're like, holy cow, dude. Yeah. He looks like Patrick Mahomes. He looks like the superstar quarterbacks and how they just do these things you thought you'd never see. But then there's also, some reads where you're like, you physically cannot make that decision. You just, you need more reps. You need more time. And it's going to be interesting to see, how no Mekhi Lemon, no Jacoby Lane, how does he handle it next year? So I think those were two guys that they made the right decision, but all three of them left a decent amount of money on the table. And I will say they have better tools than Klubnik and Nussmeier, so I don't think they'll go fully that route. But it also happened to Drew Aller, who had first round traits, weapons, equipment to work with, so to speak, from a draft standpoint, and it still flamed out. He's a day 3 pick now, so it's not, you're not completely safe from it. So I am very curious to see where these guys go. And also now they're going head to head with Lenore Sellers and Arch Manning and Dante Moore. So you're kind of starting out at best QB 4 and 5, maybe, and Sam Levitt and Brendan Sorsby, a bunch of other guys too.
I'm glad you mentioned Drew Eller right there, because I was super high on Drew last season. And like, he was kind of I thought he should have came out last year. I want to let the record be known. I think if he would have declared for the 2025 draft, he would have been the Cleveland Browns quarterback at pick 2. I don't know why his agent didn't tell him that or what the miscommunication was there. He would 100% be starting for the Cleveland Browns right now. The kid is from Cleveland. He went to high school in Medina. Like, he would 100% have been the Browns quarterback. And now he's maybe not even going to get drafted. I would not draft the kid now, but that's a different conversation. So yeah, point being, you might want to take advantage when your stock is the highest and when your ADP is like that. Right. That's why I'm a little questioning.
It is not the highest, but it's a need. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Sure. That's where I'm with you. And now he may be saying, "Hey, if I go to the Jets at 2, I've got to do a lot of growing.
My career's over anyway."
In a place that's not necessarily conducive to that. Yeah. So he's probably thinking, I'm going to make back that money on my second and third contract. I'm going to go to school, be a better guy, be close to that CJ Stroud comparison. And even unless you say he does go to the Jets anyway, but I'm going to be more able to handle that situation, and I'm going to get a bag my second contract.
And
it's
isn't
a risky
that
proposition,
not the goal,
but it is more to pay out. Yeah, right.
Isn't that the goal to be the franchise
100%.
QB?
Yeah. Put your name up in the rafters, get your name in Canton. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. I think a lot of college QBs are still missing that bigger picture mark still. And again, I'm not throwing that on Dante Moore. I think this is a very mature decision. I think the kid is going to grow and develop and learn a lot more and he's going to be just as phenomenal next season. There's no doubt in my mind. However, I don't know if he would be QB2 next year. So I'm just putting that out there. But all right, now I want to ask you about some guys who did the opposite decision and chose to come out in this class. Couple of guys I like, offensive weapons here: Jordan Tyson, Jeremiah Love, and then Ty Simpson, who obviously is a quarterback. But what about Tyson and Love, who are my tops at those respective positions? Thoughts on those guys and kind of what their status is at the next level?
Yeah, I got Tyson right now as receiver 1, but on my big board, Tyson, Tate, Lemon. I like them all. And dude, like, Mekhi Lemon might be my favorite player to watch. Like, he's not the number 1 player on my board, but like, if I want to feel better about my life before I go to bed, I'm probably going to throw on some Mekhi Lemon tape, because that man is just the definition of fun to watch. But I like all 3 of those guys. But Tyson's, the big thing with him is the injuries. He's missed close to, I think it's north of 40% of the games he's played. And it's been a shoulder injury. It's been a knee injury. It's been a variety of things. So that's a little bit troublesome. But dude, when he's on the field, he's got X receiver size. He's good enough after the catch where you can use him as a Z or a slot and get really creative there. And he's the best intermediate route runner in this class. So like, I think number 1 wide receiver is definitely his potential. And like, I'm not saying he's Justin Jefferson, but like how Jefferson is such an assassin in that 10 to 19 yard range, Tyson could be that, especially in the proliferation of the Sean McVay tree as that expands across the NFL. That's a guy who can run those backside digs, those daggers, those in and out breaking routes that you see Puka and Devontae Adams running right now. So I like him a ton. Love is a blue chipper for me. I'll flip a question back to you because I think I have an answer to this. Over my life of doing football scouting, 4 blue chip running backs. You probably know where I'm going with this. Saquon, Bijan, JT last year, and then Love this year. How do you stack those 4?
I think I might have Bijan number 1. Bijan and Saquon, I feel like, are different. Like, I just feel like they're different. Yeah. And I'm not dogging Ginty for his rookie season. I think Ginty's still going to be fantastic. Like, it's not hindsight. But I think Saquon has to be number 1. He felt different as a prospect coming out. And, like, you knew you were getting a superstar when you drafted him in New York. I don't know if, like, I thought the Raiders taking Ginty at 6 was a little high personally, but like when the Giants took Saquon, I was like, no, this guy is, but again, Ginty had better stats than Saquon. So I get that that's kind of probably a weird argument, but I think Saquon's Saquon was a pass catcher. He had like 1,000 receiving yards at Penn State one year. So like he also ran back kick returns for them. And it was just like, this guy does everything. Yeah. Remember the first play against Ohio State? So, sorry, I went on a tangent there. But I think Saquon and Bijan would still be my number 1 and 2. But Love is phenomenal. It's not to take away from Love. The dude, I feel like he jumps over another player every game. So, that's cool to watch. But he's a ridiculous.
Our fantasy analyst is starting to dive into the college tape now. And he was like, God, you guys didn't tell me he could detach his body at the midsection. And I was like, dude, no, like literally, like it feels like that sometimes. He's a monster. So,
do you remember that?
And I'm with you. I would probably go, oh, dude, he's an alien. He is an absolute alien, dude. There have been multiple instances, and I'm so blessed that I got to watch him play, so much over his career at Notre Dame.
For sure.
But like, there are multiple times in a week where I'm just like, why, how, what, what did I just watch? So, dude, he's a special player. I think to answer that question, what I asked you, I think just for prospect grades, I was hyped up on Bijan. So I think I have Bijan, Saquon, Love, GT. But it's just like athleticism with Love versus like contact balance with GT. That's kind of what the weighing is there. So special
I think
guys.
I agree with your ranking. For a good reason. Yeah, it's a good question though.
Just from a prospect standpoint, but Saquon was so good.
Yeah,
like let's not let the record disappear on that.
For sure.
But to answer your question, Love, dude, in my next mock, I'm thinking about having him go 3 to the Cardinals because especially now with no more at 2, he's a blue chipper, so I'm not too worried about the position value aspect, and they need a running back. But like, I don't love that. So that you get into the same no pun intended.
Can we not let him go to the Chiefs? Can we just not let Love go to the Chiefs? That's all I want. Don't let Love go to the Chiefs and be Mahomes' next, like, Tyreek Hill in a few years. Obviously, a running back, but that's how special this dude is.
That being said, I'm almost more worried if they get Sadiq. With how they used to use Kelsey, middle of the field, yards after the catch, design, screen game. Like, I look at Sadiq and I'm like, uh-oh. Don't let Andy Reid get that guy because that's going to be the next problem.
All right, this is good podcasting here because I am not as high on Sadiq. I think he's more of an idea and a project. I want to see more out of him. It's not the Tarzan plays like Jane guy, but like I keep hearing about Sadiq's athleticism for like 5 seasons. Well, I guess only 3, exaggerating a little bit, but I expected more of him. And I was more impressed by Oregon's sophomore tight end, Jamari Johnson, who I think is Johnson's a stud. So that's where I'm at with Sadiq. I want to see more out of him. I feel like it's like a idea project guy, but the production's not really there.
And Sadiq, he had a roller coaster of a year too. Like to me, he's like the unquestioned tight end 1. And if Jamari Johnson came out, he'd be the unquestioned tight end 2. And I know some people who are in the same boat as you, where they like Johnson more than Sadiq. And they're both monsters. Good problem to have if you're Oregon.
Yeah.
But he, like the beginning of the year against lesser competition, he looks like a monster. And you're like, okay, Kenyon Sadiq on his way to being a top 12 pick probably. And then the middle of the year, I think he started to coast a little bit. And I remember Todd McShay talking about it in his podcast, and he basically said a couple things because he had an idea that it would get back to him. Must be a good life to live where you can say things and it ruffles some feathers for people. But basically, I think he started to coast, got a little comfortable. I'm going to be a first round pick, going through the motions a little bit. But I thought the last, 4 to 5 games he played, you saw the effort back in the blocking component, and then his route running. I thought you started to see more nuance, more detail, just more overall, attention to detail and sharpness, and how he was running routes and how he's setting up defenders. So I agree. It depends on what game you look at, because again, it was a bit of an up and down stretch.
Yeah.
But 6'3", 245, you can play him in line, and it's.
Oh, he's got the.
I'm not
body.
saying he's Colston Loveland, but especially with what. You watch how Colston Loveland finished his season, and it's hard not to be like, give me an athlete. I want a freaky athlete. But he, just as much, could be the next O.J. Howard. And trust me, Bucs fans want that 19th overall pick back. They want it back.
All right, let me ask you about – so pretty much all of Ohio State's defense just declared. So which of their prospects do you like the most? Obviously, we're going to talk about Caleb Downs because I want this guy to fall to the Bengals at 10 so badly. I'm not sure if he will, but I know that there's a big thing about not drafting safeties that high. I think this guy's the exception. I think Caleb Downs is worth a top 10 pick. Kyle Hamilton is arguably the best safety in the league and went pick 14. I bet there's a few teams who wish they would have had that pick back and could use him right now. So thoughts on Downs, and then we'll talk about the linebackers, Styles and Reese.
Yeah, man. And dude, I had Kyle Hamilton as my number 2 player on the board that year. Don't overthink and I had Linderbaum at 14. So you can imagine, you can imagine me watching the Ravens, my division rival,
Positional
my
value,
division
man.
rival, just. Yeah. And I was like, no, don't let them. They can't keep getting away with this.
Oh, of course,
literally that exact meme.
The Ravens do not mess around when they draft.
But no, they don't. Their front office has been nails for like 30 years now, and that's where it kills me as a Steelers fan. But anyways, it's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
But no, dude, like I have a buddy who's a Commanders fan. Again, I live in Virginia, so like tons of Commanders fans around me pretty much at all times, and they all want Downs too. Because I think those two defenses, they need an elevation of the floor. Like their floor was just too low last year. Too many mistakes, sloppy tackling. We got to raise the floor. And that's the type of player I think Caleb Downs is. And especially like he had that single high interception against Purdue. And it's like, okay, there it is. That's just like, I need to see it at least once.
Yeah.
Where you're playing Earl Thomas, basically. You're playing cover one, free safety, center field, makes the break on the ball, gets the pick. Because he's got the athleticism to do it. They just don't ask him to do it.
No.
But boom, it's like, okay, we've got the tape. We've got the proof. We can point to him being able to do that. But him as... like, he's almost like he's like a conglomeration of like some of my favorite tight ends. Where like Grant Delpit is this perfect tight end eraser. Caleb Downs is a better version of that. He's also like one of the best box safeties I've seen since Derwin James. And it's like he would be a full-time beast at that in and of itself because of how good of a tackler he is and the angles he takes. And I'm interested to see what his wingspan is. I feel like his wingspan's bigger than his overall height, dude. I feel like his arms just always getting his hands on ball carriers. So Caleb Downs, the best thing I could say about him is he is a floor raiser. And there are a lot of defenses in the top 10 that need that. This is also a draft class that doesn't have elite top-end talent, right? Like, you look at the first 5 picks, and to that point we talked about earlier, the Cardinals, do they take a running back at 3? It's just one of those drafts where it's like, take a good football player. Don't overthink it. Yep. That's where, like, Love, Downs, like, maybe just don't overthink it. Take the win. I know it's not great position value, but a win's a win's a win. I got Downs so going to the
Giants at 5 because I think they just need help in their secondary, and I just thought he was best player available.
Yeah. Dude, him and Javon Holland would be a lot of fun. And especially like Holland playing, like Oregon guy who played free, strong, and nickel. And you've seen Downs do a lot of the same, like the mismatch. If they got the right defensive mind into that room, that could be a lot of fun, no doubt.
Yeah. I don't think he will go that high ultimately.
No, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think he will end up that high when it's all said and done, but I think he's worth that talent. I think he's that talented of a player.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think 7's probably the earliest I've seen come off the board, just because I look at Washington, and again, like Dan Quinn, defensive-minded coach, but they've been content playing Jeremy Reeves, and it's just like, how can you look at Jeremy Reeves and then look at Caleb Downs? It's not like the super soldier version of that player. So, like, I just feel like they already... But I think the same thing about, like, Orville Reese and Frankie Louvu. Like, you've been able to make good on Frankie Louvu. Now, here's a better, younger, faster, more violent version of that, and cheaper. Here you go. So, like, they kind of have a couple guys I look at as, like, they already have a role carved out there. So I do think 7 to 10 though. Like, really, the Bengals, don't overthink it. Like, do not let him out of your drafts unless you're like, unless you're in love with someone like, I don't know, CeCe Moinoa, and you're like, that's my right guard of the future. We need, like,
the Bengals
absolutely in love with the dude, make the pick.
The Bengals will take some D tackle I've never heard of, and that, like they always do, and then I'll be so annoyed. And it's like, I was not a fan of the first 2 round picks last year, and I think those are looking like bad picks right now, so we won't talk about them. But all right, let's talk about positive light now. The linebackers. Talk about these two. Tell us about these 2 OSU linebackers. They're both aliens, man. Like, just freaks of nature. I have a take that I think Sonny Styles is better linebacker today. Reese, I think, has the higher ceiling and the better potential as a pass rusher. But I think Styles is the better football player as it stands right now. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. Right now, and that's where it's tough to put together a board because I've gone back and forth with this. Because right now, I look at them and Love as the best non-quarterbacks. But let's focus on the defensive side and look at those 2. Reese in the right scheme, it's kind of like my conversation with Jalen Walker. He was my number 6 player on my board last year, but he had to go to the right scheme. And like Raheem Morris is this guy who, dude, like I remember him dropping Michael Hoyt in a coverage when he was with the Rams. And it's like, he wants these guys who can do both. And it's like, you don't do that with Michael Hoyt, but you can do that with Jalen Walker. So like that was the fit where it's like, okay, that's going to work out. Or Washington with Frankie Louvu, could they do something similar with Jalen Walker? Carolina Panthers was one I mocked a ton. Elijah Evero, really smart defensive mind. He can figure that out. And I think the same is true with Arvell Reese. Like, if Reese goes to, I'm trying to think of the most Manila defense out there, like wherever Gus Bradley's coaching, where line it up, it's cover 3. Like, you know what it is. That's the worst case scenario for Arvo Reese. But if he does go to Washington, that has an idea of how to use him because they've already had Frankie Louvu in the building. Or you go, I'm trying to think, or like he's not going to fall to Seattle, but like you give Mike McDonald this type of guy or Jesse Minter this type of guy, depending on what job he takes, look out. Like he's going to be a weapon for you. Versus Styles, and even in that last, the Miami game, they started to rush him a little bit more. Part of it's because you're down and you need to start sending some pressure. You need to start making something happen. But even in that game, they started to use him a little bit more as a blitzer. And I'm like, okay, well, you're starting to show me something you haven't done a lot this season. But dude, he looks, and like part of this is going to get misconstrued because people are going to just hear Isaiah Simmons when they say this.
Yeah.
But he looks like a safety that's converted to linebacker, but actually has the frame for it. And dude, like over the last 3 years now playing linebacker, he's got the fundamentals down. Like he really does. Sideline to sideline, speed and athleticism, great trigger downhill. His eyes are always in the right place, which is like, part of that's just he's gotten so many reps. But he literally didn't miss a tackle until the college football playoff. Like this man needed extra football to eventually miss a tackle. And it's because he's always putting his eyes in the right spot, putting his body in the right spot. So surgical. I think there's room for him to grow as a coverage player, but that's just life as a linebacker. You're always just trying to get better there and try not to get picked on too much. But doesn't miss tackles, great downhill trigger, sideline to sideline speed, safety background, and honestly could be this modern, like a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, kind of what he does for the Browns, where he's a linebacker, but he's also low-key an overhang kind of slot defender, depending on the package. Sonny Styles could be that guy for you and kind of pick up those assignments too. So I think right now I'm going to have Styles ahead of Reese just because I know what Styles is. There's no scheme that's going to mess that up, if you will. Reese, if he goes to a place that just wants to be boring, he's not going to look great. But if he goes to a creative, and again, I'm a Steelers fan, he's not going to fall to the Steelers. But I want like Jesse Minter to come to Pittsburgh and save the day. But like with what Mike McDonald's done, Minter, how they move these pieces around and they're just simplify the defensive side, that would be a really fun fit. So I'll go Styles over Reese, but dude, they're both monsters. And it's going to be another thing too, where like, depending on what division you play in, Arvell Reese as a QB spy might be worth a top 10 pick in and of itself, right? Like if you're AFC North's always where my brain goes, but like if you have to face Lamar twice a year, a guy that can like answer that is pretty valuable to you. So the AFC North might not be the perfect division for that, but him in and of itself as a spy is really interesting. But he's also an emerging player as a pass rusher, and they don't give him a whole lot of opportunities to do it. But he's such a violent player that I'm willing to figure it out. Like let's go see what this guy can do. And it's I can't think of the name of the principle where like you basically just push something as far as you can until it eventually starts to lose efficiency. But that's kind of where I'm at with him as a pass rusher. Let's just keep making him do it until it starts to become less efficient. And then once we find that point, once we find that X mark, that's when we can start saying, okay, that's what his role is, or that's how many pass rush snaps we want to give him. But both are aliens, and sorry for a long-winded tangent.
Last question before I get you out of here. Two other players on the same team, two defensive backs on the same team who I'm impressed by. One did not play this season, though. One did. Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood, the Tennessee Volunteer cornerbacks. I loved McCoy last season. Now, I know he's coming off a torn ACL, and I know that is kind of a risky pick. I believe I had him 11th to the Dolphins in my last mock on Monday. Do you think that's too high? Because I think this guy, the talent this guy possesses to be a CB1 in the league is elite level stuff. And then Colton Hood, I want to get your thoughts on him as well, because he actually did play this year for the Volunteers and was good, but probably doesn't have the ceiling that McCoy has.
Yeah, and dude, I got McCoy as CB1. If you just look at his 24 film, or sorry, his 2024 or 25 film, it's the best of anybody in this class. So I know the injury is there. He didn't play a game this year. From my understanding, he could have played as early as the Arkansas game. And it was just a kind of understanding that, like, hey, Tennessee's probably not going to win a natty this year.
They kind of fell apart.
You're going to probably be a first-round pick. Let's just focus on what we want to really focus on here. And dude, but not Colton Hood. Jermod McCoy to me is like the perfect blend of like size meets athleticism meets technical refinement. And like, whoa, holy cow, that sounds amazing in a corner. So really, it's just like the injury question that's still there. But I'm not really worried about a knee injury. We're seeing guys come back from ACLs quicker, faster, and better than ever. So I'm not too. And dude, honestly, like that's the corner that the Miami. Have you seen that secondary? Like Jack Jones has had some good games, but like he's up and down. And then they need a stud right there. And then Colton Hood, dude, if I can find a way to get him to the Rams, that to me is the exact corner they just do not have. When the Rams secondary, like when it's getting exposed, it's getting pushed around. And I think Colton Hood might be the most physical corner in this class. Him or Brandon Cisse are two guys that are just like, I will line up across from you and let's go at it. Put the dukes up. Now, I don't think he's kind of like Joey Porter Jr. in this sense. He's not as big as JPJ, but I do worry a little bit about the hip fluidity, change directions. So probably a little bit more of like a cover 3, cover 4. Let's keep this guy on a linear plane. But that's where, like, dude, the Rams run a ton of cover 4 and cover 3. So like, and when they're losing games, they're losing to AJ Brown putting up 130 yards in the second half because he's out bodying Emmanuel Forbes yet again. Or Darius Williams, God bless him, he's 5'9". There's only so much you can do about it. So if there's a world where I can manifest Colton Hood of the Rams, like that's the physical corner I think they're looking for. But big fan of his game.
Excellent stuff, TJ. I appreciate all that analysis. Tell us where we can find your stuff on 32BeatWriters.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a blast talking to you and talking a little draft. But yeah, you can find all my stuff over at 32beatwriters.com or 32beatwriters on X as well as on YouTube. We're really trying to stretch out the YouTube side of it. That's kind of been one of my main goals and whatnot. But the main thing I will plug right now is the website. You go and become a subscriber. I know not everyone loves paying and being a subscriber, but right now it's free. It's literally free for the month of January. So I'm about to go to the Senior Bowl in, God, I guess about less than 2 weeks now. We're going to be down there and you're going to get that coverage for free if you go and sign up and become a subscriber. So go to 32beatwriters.com, subscribe, join our Discord, be able to talk with me one-on-one. I'm also doing live breakdowns every week just in our Discord, only for our Discord members. So get some more prospect analysis there and go get free Senior Bowl coverage. What do you have to lose? So that's what I'll plug. Appreciate you guys checking it out, and I appreciate you having me on, Mitch.
Of course, TJ. Yeah, appreciate you coming on. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe below. So appreciate you, and you guys have a great rest of your day.